Okay, girls, you know there's a fascinating study out of the Infant Cognition Center at Yale University that asserts the notion that, quote, morality may be hardwired into the brain at birth. That babies as young as 6 months old have already developed a sense of right and wrong. Okay, girls, what do you think of this?
You know, well, the first knee-jerk thought is that every mother knows that very early, out of the gate, babies know how to manipulate. We could make a poem out of that.
Really?
We could. And so you have to be careful not to meet their every need, every whimper, because they are children of Adam who know good and evil from the beginning. But they're also made in the image of their Creator. And so God's moral character is part of what He knit together in that baby's mother's womb. And so this is no surprise to me at all. God has set eternity in our hearts. That's not something that hatches later. It's part of how we're made.
But it is fascinating. I was actually reading the comments because this has generated a lot of interesting discussion and debate. And I thought it was fascinating because the Yale University professor, Professor Bloom, has said that most people would think that children are psychopaths or maybe manipulators. They have no conscience of the right or wrong, and so that's what we've assumed, many of us, for a long time, that they just do their thing. They don't know about suffering. And so these really amazing tests of showing you know, like little squares and circles helping one another up or pushing the other one down, the babies actually respond when the good guy or gal pushes up one of the, what was it, the square.
Is helpful.
Is helpful. And then also responded when a good puppet was given a treat, right? Or they gave it a treat. And I thought that was fascinating because I always thought that babies were, I don't want to say psychopaths, but you know,
selfish, inherently selfish, right? I mean, they don't have they don't have the cognizance to kind of think outside of themselves, right?
Said they're not, that they actually have a sense of morality.
Well, I think there's a difference, though. We're not saying that babies aren't selfish. I think the study is saying that they recognize when good is prevailing and evil is prevailing.
They have a moral compass.
They respond to it.
Yeah, and choice played a factor in this too, because the babies were asked to choose which one do you prefer, and the majority of the babies chose the good character.
I think
they
measured it by, but they had a camera on, like the 6-month-old babies,
and
how long their eyes stayed focused on this particular one, and they you know, were with this one.
It's a very obscure, sort of sensitive way of reading this. That's a little.
Because I was wondering too, what if the baby's attracted to the color red,
or the color
or
yellow,
the color blue, or the color green?
Right.
So, but we all know, like you said, Bridget, we're all born selfish. And that's something that we've got to work through all of our lives. We're all created, like you said, Moira, in the image of God to reflect His image, but we're all born also
with another character.
With a sinful nature. In the book of Romans in the Bible, chapter 8, it says, so letting your sinful nature control your mind leads to death, but letting the Spirit of God control your mind leads to life and peace. And that's really a learned discipline, is to surrender to God and say, okay, God, I'm surrendering my sinful, selfish nature today. And we do that as we mature and as we grow. And so babies aren't really expected to have that kind of maturity of laying aside the selfish nature.
Yeah, and they said too, Professor Bloom said, just be careful in that don't get all crazed about, you know, oh my goodness, my child and the morality, and they're 6 months and I've got to really work on this. He was like, you know, enjoy your baby, but know that they're actually smart, moral people, little people. Celebrate that.
Well, children, I think it was Dr. Lehman that said on this very couch that children learn what is caught more than what is taught. They observe around us, and we just need to always remember that, even at a young age. They're sponges.